Now, there is some good things coming out of this catastrophe. South African banks are rallying together to offer clients some reprieve during the coronavirus outbreak. Just to give you a sense of one that really stands out, which has made definite decisions, is Standard Bank. Them coming out and saying that they are going to be providing a 90-day payment relief for businesses, that's small to medium businesses, and those are of a turnover of less than 20 million rand a year. And of course, this period between April and June, student loans will not pay any interest. Of course, those above that I've just mentioned will continue to pay interest and fees on their loans that they've got with the bank. And then we've got Old Mutual, which has also joined the conversation, and it's looking to teach consumers how to minimize the outbreak's impact on their pockets. Joining me now via Skype is John Manyike, who's the head of financial education at Old Mutual. John, many thanks for your time. I guess the obvious question there would be, how exactly do we minimize the impact on our pockets, given the bulk buying that we're seeing and spending recklessly to protect ourselves from the effects of the coronavirus?
I think the first thing, it's very important to reassure customers. And when I say customers, I'm talking broadly, not just on mutual clients, but generally people who consume stuff, that we need to remain calm. The retail sector has come out very firm on this, that the supply value chain system is very robust and very resilient, and they don't anticipate that we'll run out of stock anytime soon. So it's very important that people pace themselves. We don't need to go on a panic buy. It's okay to buy personal hygiene products, but it doesn't mean that we should go to the extent of even borrowing money in order to buy food.
Right. Now, another important element, and I've just spoken about this very briefly, is the fact that some reprieve is being offered by banks to consumers and small businesses. But how are banks going to be able to handle this in terms of their health in the medium term? Is this something that they can withstand?
Well, I think the decisions of that nature obviously take into account the shareholder expectations. But I mean, we are facing a period of radical uncertainty, and this is definitely an unprecedented health and economic emergency. And I think everyone understands that at some point, somewhere, somehow, we need to make some sacrifices to accommodate everyone. But I think what's important, though, is for consumers to understand what it means to be offered a payment break. You need to actually interrogate the detail. What does it mean? Does it mean if I defer the payment, that the term for the loan is going to be extended? What does it mean in terms of the interest that's going to be charged there? And do I actually really need the money? I know that the impact would vary depending on the person. For small businesses who have overhead costs and they have to pay salaries, they have to pay rent, it makes sense for them to be pushing during this period. But for consumers who might not necessarily be in a position where they actually don't need to be having a holiday, you need to decide whether you actually want to take that offer. But even if you do take the offer, the question is, do you have a plan on what you're going to be doing with that money? If you're suddenly going to have 15,000 rand per month over the next 3 months, that's 45,000. If you don't have a plan on that money, there is a chance that you're going to misuse that money. I think it's important to consider things like paying off debt, or increase, or start your own emergency fund, because you don't know how long this may take. But one last thing I also want to emphasize is that we need to understand that a human being is a multi-dimensional a person, to the extent that we need to also be looking at the spiritual side, the psychological side of a human being, because the reason people panic is because of the fear of the unknown. And that's why it's important that all role players, civil society, business, including religious organizations, need to continue to encourage people so that we actually keep hope alive.
Thank you very much for those insights, John. And of course, consumers must be aware that it's not just a matter of walking into a bank and getting that reprieve. There is an application process. I've been speaking there to John Manyika, who's the Old Mutual's head of financial education. With that, the local market started another week deep in the red. This as the coronavirus continues to spread across the US and Europe and, of course, South Africa. And here's a look at how it's had an impact on the local markets.